Well, hello and welcome back to the show. This is Hunter McWaters, your host. Today, I'm going to be speaking with another guy who's been around the industry a long time. He's done marketing and brand work for some big companies like Sitka, and just very knowledgeable about branding and marketing, and about the outdoor industry. He's an entrepreneurial type guy. He also is another guy, like my guest Austin recently, who he's been doing hunt consulting and hunt booking for many years. His family's been in the travel business for many years, and extremely knowledgeable. If you want to go hunt ibex in Spain or Kyrgyzstan, or you want to go, on an African safari or water buffalo in Australia, or if you're a waterfowler, he's incredibly knowledgeable about different waterfowl hunts around the world. When we had this conversation, he had just got back from Argentina. We did some wing shooting and hunt red stags down there. So pretty much, if it can be hunted, Ryan Bassham, my guest today, knows how to get you there and can help you out. He's a really awesome dude, family man. Like I said, very knowledgeable about the industry and marketing. So we have a good business conversation. We also touch on some spiritual topics that are really interesting. And just want to mention, it's no secret I'm a Christian. We talk about faith on this show a lot, but I'm open and willing to talk to people of different faiths, and think there's good things to be taken there. So Ryan is a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Several of my guests in the past have been. A lot of my friends are, and so we may differ on some theological points, but we also have a lot in common, and our values are the same in a lot of ways. So we have a conversation about faith, and we are in different churches, but like I said, Ryan and all my other LDS friends are great people, some of the best people that I know. And so, our conversation is a really good one, and I hope you enjoy it and get a lot out of it. Try to, I know there's different people may have different biases towards different theologies and religions or whatever, but just try to look past that, and just like I said, no matter where you land on it, I think this conversation is an important one and a really good one. And Ryan's just an awesome, friendly, nice dude and a killer hunter. He's very approachable. We talk about it in the episode, but he actually just helped me book like my dream hunt. So, I'm kind of excited about it. I guess I'll announce it here, but Ryan helped me book a Alaskan Doll sheep hunt for 2023, and I was able to get on it because of a cancellation he had. I'm super stoked. It's amazing. I'm really excited about it. Gonna have to figure out all the logistics and all that good stuff, but we're gonna make it work, and I'm really excited about it. So if you have a dream hunt, we talk about it in the episode, but regs are not getting any easier, prices are not going down, and you ain't getting any younger. So if you got something you want to do, get it on the books. You only live once. You don't want to do anything stupid and make any bad decisions, but if you make a plan, things are attainable. And so you don't want to wait. You don't want to wait too long to where you're too old and you just can't do it anymore. And you never know. Regs change all the time. So that's why I went ahead and decided I just said, you know what, I'm just going to book this hunt. I was pushing it off, saying I'll do it one day, but it may not be very long before non-residents are draw only for Doll sheep. And there's a couple other things that just made me realize, you know what, I'm just going to go for it. So I booked it, and, I'm looking forward to it. So anyway, we have a great conversation. I hope you guys enjoy it. There's some great stuff in here. Ryan's an awesome dude. And just go ahead and leave me a rating or review if you like what we're doing here. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can just search my name, Hunter McWaters. And thanks again for your support, and we'll see you on the next one. All right, guys, welcome back to the show. I'm here with my guest today, Ryan Bassham. How you doing, man?
Good, buddy. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for making it work. I know you've been traveling, and we got a chance to meet briefly at the expo, but I know you were pretty busy at the Peaks booth, and I was
Yeah.
making my rounds and stuff like that, so we didn't get a whole lot of chance to talk. But I'm glad to get a chance to connect on here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That show was awesome. It was fast and furious and
Yeah,
glad we catch up for a little bit. But yeah, stoked that we get to chat a little bit more now. So it's great.
yeah, man. Because I asked Brian, I was like, who's somebody good from Peaks to have on the show, and he's like, well, Bassam's hunted everywhere, so he's a good guest. You should get him on.
I've got different adventures than Lampers and Brian. I admire those guys a lot. They freaking go hard. It's awesome. And yeah, it's cool getting to work with those guys. It's good
Yeah.
good stuff we got going on over there.
Yeah, man. So, I mentioned Peaks a little bit. I don't know exactly your role there.
Yeah.
I was also just happened to be like Brian was giving me a ride to the airport while you guys were on one of your Peaks calls, so that was kind of interesting to like listen into.
Oh,
But I'd love to just I know you've done work with lots of outdoor industry companies and you got your own entrepreneurial things. And that's one thing I'm super interested in. Is entrepreneurialism, and especially as it relates to the outdoor industry. I think a lot of folks are interested in that, and so yeah, just tell folks kind of like a little bit of your background and kind of what you're up to now.
Yeah. So I probably had more of an untraditional approach into stumbling my way into the industry. It was kind of on accident, to be quite honest. I've been a passionate hunter my whole life, like most of us and probably most of your listeners. But yeah, no, I was a triathlete at Texas A&M University in college. And
Triathlete, you said?
yeah,
Oh,
so
nice.
it's not an NCAA sanctioned sport, so it was club sports. But I did some Ironman stuff and a lot of
Oh,
like
cool.
endurance stuff. I'm fat now, so you wouldn't know that, but used to, I was an athlete. And that was a good time. But in that time period, I started to work with a running shoe company called Newton Running, but I was also just starting to kind of enter the booking agency space. So as a booking agent, helping clients book hunts kind of all over the world, hosting them on those hunts,
Yeah.
and getting to hunt weird critters in obscure places. And so that's kind of what started my business path. Newton Running was a very new startup at the time, and so I got to come in as a sales and marketing, individual to help grow their company. Simultaneously, I was helping to sell hunts, traveling, and started to get some brand sponsors and whatnot. And one thing led to another, and I ended up eventually as the VP of marketing at Drake Waterfowl on the
Oh,
waterfowl
nice.
side of the industry. And after a short stint there, I ended up at Sika Gear for about 5 years and ran marketing for the waterfowl and eventually the whitetail category as well. And then had an opportunity to go out on my own. And you've mentioned Peaks. So Bryce Bishop, the owner of Peaks, and I go to church together.
Oh, nice.
And he approached me 3.5, 4 years ago now, before it was Peaks, and had me go to breakfast. And he was like, I've got this crazy idea to start this trekking pole company. And I was like, I don't know that this is going to work. I don't know. I don't see that being a good idea, but let's talk about it. And so anyways, fast forward to 2022, we rebranded. It used to be called Sissy Sticks, rebranded it. And it's now called Peaks Equipment. And we're super excited. We've got a very exciting product mix coming up over the next 5 years. And we kind of, the way we like to tag ourselves is we're for hunters by hunters.
Yeah.
Anything that, hunters need for a multi-day backcountry hunting trip, and anything that would go in your pack. We don't do apparel, we don't do packs, but literally everything else you could potentially use in your campsite is where we want to help hunters thrive more on the mountain.
Yeah, and that's cool because, for a long time, and it's starting to change, but we'd have to look to, non-hunting brands and stuff like that. And I mean, for me, like I had to get a new sleeping bag just recently, and I wanted to get a Stone or even like I looked at Kuiu. They're just sold out everywhere, so I ended up having to get a Marmot. But that being said, like I like to support hunting brands when I can. And especially with something like a trekking pole. I mean, I think right now I'm running like Lakey trekking poles, which are good, but at the same time, like if I'm going to be making a purchasing decision and I can buy a quality piece of gear that's made by hunters and I'm supporting a hunting brand, like it's a no-brainer for me.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. And so that's kind of what our thought mentality was as well. Now I've started to take on a little bit more of a role. David Brinker and I work together at Sitka. Now we're getting to work together at Peaks.
Oh, nice.
He's our chief brand officer. I'm our chief marketing officer. So a lot of people don't understand the difference between the two, but that's okay. We're trying to do our best just to deliver a good product and experience and education for everybody. So it's a really fun time right now for Peaks, but that's one of the things I do. And then outside of that, I consult, and obviously I'm still running the booking agency. So that's why I just got back from Argentina.
Yeah.
An outfitter down there and on a hunt and just trying to have fun, man.
Yeah, dude. And I want to talk about that side of things too. And you literally helped me out yesterday book a sick hunt that I'm looking forward to. I want to maybe talk about that later.
Dude, I'm so excited for you.
Dude, me too.
I'm more excited for you to go on that trip than I am for anything I think I'm doing this year. So I'm stoked for you.
I was just dreaming about it last night. Not literally, but I was thinking about it trying to sleep. But dude, yeah, that's sick. Let's talk about that a little later. But real quick, I want to just on the Peaks thing, just because I'm curious. Because I know Brian kind of started working with Sissy Sticks originally. Yeah. Now, was that kind of an intentional thing? I mean, that Bryce had reached out to him to kind of try to get something going because of his influence in the space, or did that kind of happen organically, or what was that?
No, 100%. So Bryce had the idea of Sissy Sticks. Quick side story on why Sissy Sticks, because I think it's important. It's not trying to be cute or clever. There's actually some meaning to it. A gentleman by the name of JD Clark that we go to church with here in Bozeman was kind of a hunting mentor to Bryce. And he's in his 70s now. And the guy still goes out and gets it done in the backcountry and hunts elk every year in his 70s. Oh, wow. But as he's gotten older, he's needed to use trekking poles. And he always, even before Sissy Sticks was an idea, he called them his Sissy Sticks. He was always like, boys, give me those stupid Sissy Sticks. I need them. And so it was kind of a tip of the hat to a hunting mentor local to the area that helped Bryce early on when he was a teenager and hunting. Yeah. And so that's why Sissy Sticks. As Sissy Sticks started to grow and we were selling more poles, the idea was we can do way more than just poles. And at that point, I facilitated an introduction between Brian and Bryce. Okay. And we very strategically started adding people to the team to help us grow the brand. Jordan Harbison from Mountain Ops was involved and helped rebrand. Like I said, David Brinker from Sitka Gear, Ryan Lampers is tremendously helpful on the product development side because that guy just goes harder than anybody I know. And so we've kind of got a really fun team of guys together that come from different backgrounds to help make Peaks what it is and hopefully what it would become in the future state.
Yeah, man, it's definitely exciting. Like you said, just the crew you got assembled. I was hanging out quite a bit over there by the initial Ascent booth and by y'all's booth. It was sort of my home base. Yeah. And yeah, it's a really cool group of guys you got. And I felt like it was like the cool kid area over there.
Well, hopefully it was a place that everybody enjoyed getting to hang out. And,
for sure.
And yeah,
I didn't mean that in the best possible way, not
right? in the best possible way. We want to be that brand that everybody can relate to, and
yeah, for sure.
Hopefully, we can be of help too.
Yeah, man. I actually picked up a pair of gaiters. I was in the market for some gaiters, and I picked up a headlamp just to try out. So I'm gonna be running those this year. Awesome. I had some other brand gaiters that just were not working for me. So anyway. That's cool. You mentioned brand versus marketing. Brand, what was it? Brand manager versus marketing manager?
Branding versus marketing and is really kind of two different things. They can be defined differently depending on their intended purpose. But I think in its most simplistic terms, brand can be considered more of like, what is your look and feel? Marketing gets more into like the actual strategy and tactical execution side of things. And so you have to have brand. Let me back up. So every time I go into a new opportunity as a consultant where I'm working with a new company, I first want to understand, okay, like this company, look at it as it's its own little person. We're going to create this person. We get to define its personality, its look, its feel, the vibe it puts off. That comes down to the font and the color scheme, all of that. That's creating that little human, that company, that's branding. The marketing side is like, okay, now we've created the look and the feel of the company. how are we going to strategically put together a plan that allows us to achieve business goals and sales goals? And then how do we tactically execute that strategy? And so that there is a difference, but branding and marketing are obviously tied even more closely to the hip than sales and marketing, but they're defined differently.
Yeah. So did you go to school for that stuff, or you just kind of learned it on the fly?
And I've been so fortunate in my career to be around a lot smarter people than myself, and so I've learned from those around me. I've worked alongside with people from Yeti and Patagonia, and obviously Sitka, and it's been tremendous. And you know, I learned a lot from them. I learned some of the stuff at school as well. It's on the job training, man.
For sure.
Surround yourself with people smarter than you, and inevitably you'll start reaching those career goals that you have, and you know, get to where you want to be.
Yeah, that's really important thing, man. I mean, just in life in general, whatever industry you're in, surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals, but like you're saying, not like-minded individuals that are all slackers or something. Like, you want to go for people that are like maybe a couple notches above you, you know, so you can kind of grow to their level.
Totally. And I think even more important than all of that, because that's all important, but being around people that want to see you succeed, because you can be around incredibly smart people, but do they have your best interest in mind? And are they helping you continue to grow as an individual, as part of that cohesive team that has that same, you know, business goal and objective? And unfortunately, I mean, it's just the nature of business. There's some toxic workplaces out there where that doesn't necessarily occur.
For sure.
But when you get the right recipe for success for team, man, it's getting a bunch of very smart, like-minded people together that want to help each other succeed. And then, man, it's off to the race. The sky's the limit.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
So there's so many places we could go from here. Well, tell me about your trip you just got back from.
Yeah.
Fresh in your mind.
Totally. So, just got back from Argentina. Argentina is a super cool country. This was my third trip down there. Most people like to go down there for the wing shooting, obviously high volume dove.
See, that used to be my thing. Cause I maybe like you, I started my first, you know, hunt was in a dove field. You know, my dad took me out, obsessed, you know, like I remember my first time ever. I remember my dad bought me a 20 gauge, youth model 870. Came in, I was like, the best day of my life. And I actually shot a dove with that thing the first time out with it, which is pretty good for like an 8-year-old.
Heck yeah, it is.
Dove, you know. So, and then, you know, duck, you know, he had me duck hunting, and that's how I got my start. And then whitetail, and then that's when I really gravitated towards big game. But I always, you know, before I found Western hunting, that was kind of my thing. Was like, oh, I want to go to Argentina and just, you know, melt some freaking shotgun barrels, shooting some doves and teal, man, and all that. But less people, I think, know about it. And you went down there for big game, correct?
I did, yeah. So I did some dove hunting too. You know,
how'd y'all do on the dove?
I did dove and ducks. The dove and pigeon hunting was great. I only did a day of it because we were big game hunting most of the time. But yeah, similar story. Like I grew up on, you know, in Northeast Texas on birds and deer.
Nice.
And obviously I'm in the bird room right now, so there's a lot of birds in here. But
you have your own just bird room.
This is the bird room, and a lot of the big game stuff is at the Peaks office, and then I've got crap scattered all over the place.
I bet you do. How many? Just real quick, how many different countries have you hunted in?
I've got let's see. I'm looking at a map up here on my wall where I've kind of started to try to mark.
Don't even remember the number.
I think it's like 18, and I'm going to try to go to 2 new ones this year.
That's awesome.
So I should be at 20 countries this year. It's funny because my kids were asking me this stuff last week before I left to Argentina because we were putting this map together, and I think I'm at right around like 52 quote unquote big game species and 78 waterfowl species.
Wow.
In 18 countries as I'm looking at this thing.
Well, you definitely have the mustache for it.
Yeah, you know.
If you guys are listening, this is your temptation to go to YouTube right now because he has an epic handlebar mustache, like Theodore Roosevelt style.
The COVID mustache. I
can just imagine you with like a double-barreled elephant gun with 2 triggers on it.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because in Argentina we were hunting water buffalo, and I did have the 450 400 Nitro Express with
Nice.
400 grain bullets, and I was letting it eat some buffalo for sure. So I was feeling like old Teddy. It was
Yeah,
great.
that's awesome, man.
I leave
Wait.
for a few weeks for Cape Buffalo in Africa, so I'll look the part there too.
So yeah, man. So anyway, that was a little bit of a sidetrack, but
Sorry,
you're
we
telling me about
sidebarred.
Argentina. Yeah.
Argentina. So what's cool? Argentina was closed obviously up until January, so it just now opened
Mm.
back up. And I've had a lot of clients ask me like some of these places that foreigners haven't been able to get into. It's like, well, what's the hunting like? I mean, my brain immediately as a hunter goes to, wow, they've had 2 years for those animals just to get bigger, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
No pressure, all that kind of stuff. And so the Argentina being in the southern hemisphere, it's reverse season. So the middle of their roar, which is equivalent to the rut, is going on right now. It's just wrapping up. And so the month of March for red stag in Argentina is at its peak in March.
Is that a native species down there?
It is a non-native species.
Okay.
With Argentina, they're the native species you cannot export out of the country. The non-native species you can. And so
you can actually bring the meat home.
Well, unfortunately, because of USDA federal laws, we can't bring the meat back. But we did eat the meat lunch and dinner every day.
Sure.
At this,
is there anywhere you can bring meat back from still?
No.
Even Mexico?
You can try to drive it back in from Mexico, but trying to do that stuff on a planes, I highly discourage anybody to even mess with it.
So New Zealand, you can't, because I remember Brian, they flew a bunch of meat back. You can't do that anymore.
No, I don't think so. Again, a lot of things have changed in the last 2 years. It's incredibly difficult. Most places you cannot. It depends on the country. That's what makes all this so complicated. Like country to country, it is different. Like nothing can come back from the country of Africa in regards to meat. New Zealand, I know you used to be able to, but I don't know that you can anymore. But right now, like no one's even going over there. So it's kind of up in the air. South America, you can't. You can get trophies back, but most of the meat's consumed there. We're at an 85,000 acre free range ranch, pretty big chunk of land.
Yeah.
And there's 60 people that work there. And so, man, everything's getting
plenty of mouths to feed.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we were eating every meal, which was awesome. So,
yeah.
But yeah, no, like it was a great trip. Some of the other non-native species they have there is like free range water buffalo, which is a 2,200 pound pissed off, looking cow, which is a lot of fun. And then you've got black buck, axis deer, some of their native species. Nice. They have different kinds of javelina there that are specific to South America, capybara, pumas, that sort of a thing. But yeah, the stag hunt was awesome. And I'm not kidding. Like it's more intense than hunting elk as far as the roar. Like they're way more vocal.
Really?
There's no calls. Like we had some PVC pipes and we're trying to like do some calling, but it wasn't effective. But it's more like get out early in the morning, listen, same as we would hunting elk, try to, get location, and then just trying to make a move. And these animals are constantly moving, and there'll be like 7 or 8 roaring at one time, kind of in a pocket in a general area. And then you got to do your best to try and figure out where they're going to be and get to that spot. But like the way the topography is and how thick I was in La Pampa, how thick the brush and everything is in La Pampa, like you might be lucky if you get 100-yard shot. So it's like a bow hunter's paradise, like the spot and stock opportunities. And there's so many, you can blow one stock after another, kind of like axis deer in Hawaii. Like it's freaking fantastic. I had a rifle there because I was doing a Benelli thing. But it was great. One
of those Benelli Lupo.
The Benelli Lupo, yeah. So I killed on day 3, and then next day we went after buffalo. Got to 15 yards. That was exciting.
Wow.
And was able to do that, and then got bored and shot a black buck, and then we did some dove hunting, and I got to play gaucho, swung a leg up over a horse, and we moved about 1,000 head of cattle from one pat
cool.
to gaucho. So that was.
Did you drink
sweet.
the little drink out of the gourd with the metal straw?
Okay.
There you go. Nice.
I came prepared. Yeah. So yeah, all that good stuff. One of the guides like made this really cool knife from like a black buckhorn.
Ooh,
so,
that's cool.
Yeah, it was an adventure as always. Tons of fun.
So because of my past career, I've gotten a chance to travel a lot. Like I've been to like Nepal,
Right.
Africa, Ecuador, Thailand, Cambodia, Turkey, a lot. So anyway, but this year it'll be my first time doing an international hunt. I'm
Yeah.
starting small, just across the border in Mexico.
Nice.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. It's I think a
Heck
lot
yeah.
of guys just they get I mean, it's already well, first of all, we got so much cool stuff to hunt here in America.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And that's, I still have a lot of stuff to hunt here that I haven't hunted. So,
Sure.
I'm not like super motivated right now for international stuff, but if, guys that have that dream or whatnot, like it is doable, especially if you enlist the expertise of someone like yourself. So yeah, the
Yeah.
opportunities are out there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I totally agree. I mean, there's so many animals here in North America that are amazing. Like part of my mindset is as a kid, I used to dream about going and do these things. Like I would go to the Dallas Safari Club because I grew up in Dallas, and I would go to Texas Trophy Hunter Extravaganza and see all these outfitters from all over the world. And I was like, man, these places are amazing. Like as a kid, your imagination goes wild.
Yeah.
And so it was always a dream to go to those places. Never thought I would. But what I've realized lately too, just because of society and the way it is around the world, I feel like the clock is ticking. And I'm like, man, if I'm going to even have a chance to maybe go and experience these things at least once, I better hurry the heck up and get over there and do it.
Dude, so
And then,
true.
and then hopefully be able to use, the rest of the hunting time I have left, just doing the things I love most in North America. And that's not to say I don't hunt here in the US a lot, because I do.
Right.
I just use it up a little bit more than most. And, but yeah, I'm just trying to checklist all my crazy adventures that I used to dream about, and all with the intent of doing it before they're gone, before we're not allowed to anymore. And,
yeah, that's sad. And it's, I don't want to go negative, but it is, I mean, we're already seeing stuff getting closed right in our own country. There was that, stuff up in Alaska that just got closed. Insane. So definitely take this opportunity to tell people like we definitely need to like come together and like stand up for our rights, and
Absolutely.
sign every single petition, like do whatever you got to do. They're usually pretty easy to do, and I mean, because we're losing more and more ground, and we can't. It's a slippery slope,
It's one of those things too, where and I've heard this mindset come from other hunters, and I'm not passing judgment at all. I understand the mindset and where they're coming from, but I hear these statements of, well, I don't care anything about Africa. I never wanted to go there. Like, why would I participate or waste my time and, signing a petition that supports African hunting if it doesn't affect me? Well,
right.
The reality is it does affect you.
Mm-hmm.
Case in point. So I do a lot with SCI. I sit on their record book committee, and I'm an ambassador. And so I get to hear a lot of the political things that are going on that have this ripple effect that will touch us as North American hunters. Even if you never leave your home state and all you ever care about is elk, awesome. But you need to be mindful of what's going on in the world, because Arizona is trying to pass legislature that would restrict the importation of leopards from Africa. And it's going to include other game species. And some people may be going, well, who cares? Like, I'm not going to go.
Yeah.
But that's just one step forward in momentum for these anti-hunting groups to continue to chip away at any kind of legal hunting. Like, that's legal hunting. It's a very necessary part of conservation over there. That's why the government has quota permits that they issue.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things, like, it can absolutely go away. We've seen black bear hunting shut down, grizzly bear hunting shut down. Like, they're not going to stop at just bears.
Right. Yeah, and you said it, like, chip away. Like, they know they're not going to go in and close hunting in all 50 states tomorrow. It's an erosion. And just like anything else, like even in your own personal life, you like start to like, let something in a little bit, like, oh, just, I don't know, I'm making an example, but I don't care about using curse words, or I'll just get drunk once a week. Eventually, like, it grows. And so they know that too. And they want to get their foot in the door, and then that they just wedge their way in. And so you got to be wary of all those little things.
I mean, I'm to the point too, like, I want to stop any and all momentum. Like, I've been subjected to death threats from the whole vegan community and all that. And then recently this week, while I was in Argentina, before I got home, my daughter came home to my wife and said, hey, my health ed teacher just taught us that to teach them about veganism, like really pushing it hard, made them watch a video. And then started talking about endangered species in Africa and how we shouldn't hunt them. And the stuff she was putting out there was not true. And I'm just like, holy crap. And like, so I'm to the point where, do I be the crazy dad that like storms into the school and creates, issues? No, I don't want to do that. But
with your handlebar mustache,
my handlebar mustache. Yeah. But it's like, but I can't just stay silent, because
right. Yeah.
That is one step of momentum. Like, she's telling these kids in 6th grade these things that aren't true, and that's not okay. And so she's planting these seeds of doubt. That's happening here in freaking Montana, where 25% of the population is hunting license holders. Like, it's just, we have to be willing, like the liberal side of this equation, they are so like full board, like attacking us at every opportunity. And I truly believe that. And I use the word attack because that's how I feel.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, we got to stand up for ourselves. We can't let little things like that slide.
Absolutely, man. Do you think, this is a side question, but like, you're from Texas. I feel like a lot of my guests that have been like into international hunting are Texas guys. Is that kind of a cultural Texas thing?
That's a great question. I've actually put a lot of thought into this, because even as I help clients book hunts to different parts of the world, that I'm gonna say Texas, but I'm gonna say the southeastern region of the country. I'm gonna lump Texas into that. That region of the U.S. is more open-minded about doing international hunting for a wide variety of species, and I think that's because, especially in Texas, it's more of the culture for like game ranches and things like that, which, I don't particularly like, but to each their own. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. So they're just more open to doing like chasing weird critters. Whereas now I live in the, the Northwest, and it's all about big game hunting and, free range, DIY, blah, 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 mountain species. Right. And that pocket of the country, they come to me asking, well, I want to go hunt argali in Mongolia, or tell me about these ibexes over in Kyrgyzstan or in Pakistan or wherever, because their draw is to what is common in their backyard, which is mountains and mountain species. They're chasing the opportunity to put some physical exertion out there and really go and earn that hunt. Whereas the guys down in the Southeast, man, they want to pull the trigger. They just want to pull that trigger. Okay. So it's interesting how those two regions, depending on where you're from and how the surroundings and the environment in which you grew up hunting in starts to put you in that direction of what you're interested in doing outside of the U.S. itself. And they all gravitate towards the same things. It's very interesting.
Well, bringing that back to myself, I'm a Southeasterner, but I just booked, with your help, a mountain hunt. Yeah.
And it's going to be a freaking awesome.
I feel like dirty even saying it. It's so early, but I haven't even signed the papers yet. But I guess I'll just go ahead and say it. So Ryan helped me yesterday get in contact and book a Dall sheep hunt. Something I've wanted to do for a long time, and I'm freaking stoked.
Heck yeah, man! It is such an incredible experience. If you
have you done it?
Before. I have been on a sheep hunt before, for Dall sheep. For myself once, and I've been on a couple others just with clients tagging along. And it's a magical experience. Unfortunately for me, I did hit an area. It was an exploratory trip, and hit an area that was hit hard by some winter issues and made it tough. We didn't find a legal ram, but the area you're going with Jeremy is man, it's money. Like, he has a very high success rate there. So I was telling you, Remy Warren has hunted there with him a couple times. That's where he's hunted his Dall sheep. But Jeremy runs a high success rate. He's been doing it for a long time, and he's going to put you on a good hunt for sure.
Yeah, man, looking forward to it. So I talked to him a little bit yesterday, and he was saying they have had some bad winters, and the sheep aren't where they are or where they were like 20 years ago. But, he said he at one point was taking 10 sheep hunts out a year. Now, like this year he's only doing 2. So, I mean, I'm like incredibly fortunate, and it was kind of some different situations and some really good timing, probably the Lord watching out for me, that I was able to kind of get in there for one in 2023. But going back to what you were saying earlier,
circumstance for you though, because a guy had booked it, and I told you he unfortunately unexpectedly passed away from brain cancer.
Mm.
And that's the only reason that spot came up. And you said something really important that I don't know a lot of people listening picked up on, but you're right. Jeremy used to run, 8 to 12 hunts out there for Doll sheep a year. But as a good outfitter, he was watching and paying attention to what's been going on, and he scaled it back down so that he can still deliver a very highly successful hunt, even though that means probably less money out of his pocket. Right. And so finding outfitters like that is crucial.
Yeah. And I'd heard other people say good things about his outfit. Yeah, did the classic internet forum search. There was no garbage about him, so everyone said he was good. And yeah, so, and I trust you too, so it was pretty easy. But going kind of back to what you were saying something earlier, which is like, so the first time I went to Alaska, so I picked up this shed. It was my first backcountry trip, walk-in caribou hunt, and like I knew like I had to hunt sheep one day. Just the country is amazing, and they're just like epic, mythical looking, like magical white rams. Like what? They're so cool. Exactly. And just the places they live are so cool, and it's the only like over-the-counter sheep tag, I guess, in America. And so, and even though it's expensive, it is the most affordable way to hunt sheep, really.
It is. Yeah. I mean, I can vouch for that. Of all the sheep in the world, that is going to be the price point entry level sheep hunt you can do.
Yeah. And it's the one I want to do, which is great. Yeah. And so I'm super stoked, but we were talking about it last night, and I was like, I was kind of like, man, this is a chunk of change. And for me, this is kind of something I'm trying to do professionally, starting off, in this new venture. I kind of went full time into it this year. So it's sort of an investment in a way too. And I'm, thinking how I'm going to make it work financially and, whatever. But I was like, dude, I'm not getting any younger. The sheep, hunting in general is getting, more demand, less supply.
Prices are going up.
Prices are going up. Like, I was always kind of like, yeah, one day I'll hunt Doll sheep. But like, I'm like, dude, not to mention something Jeremy was saying that I've heard whispers of already is that like, it might not be that many years before all Doll sheep is draw tags for non-residents.
Yeah. That's been I've been hearing whispers about that for a couple years now. And for it to be that consistent, I think it's coming. It's one of those deals. It's like, man, if you've been thinking about doing a Doll sheep hunt, you better hurry up and do it, because pricing's gone up significantly. I bet when I first started researching Doll sheep, I used to be able to find for 12, 13,000, and now they're all well over 20,000.
Yeah.
Especially the good ones. And in Northwest Territories, some of them are getting up over 30,000 now. Yeah. So,
So yeah, I'm not getting any younger. They're not getting any cheaper, and the regulations are not getting any easier. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to freaking go on a wing and a prayer and book this thing, put the deposit down, figure out how to pay for the rest of it later. Right. I have faith it'll work out. I mean, I'm not worried about it, but I know it'll work out. But anyway, so just to say it, like, guys, I mean, it doesn't have to be a sheep hunt. It could be high country mule deer, but put a plan together and just go for it, because you ain't getting any younger.
No, absolutely. I my dad got me into hunting, and it became just this life obsession. And but I remember as a kid talking to my dad. He would go elk hunting every year in Colorado, and that was kind of his big annual trip. And we always talked about doing these trips together. So finally, I started Trophy Expeditions, which is my booking agency, alongside my dad. But what's been kind of sad, as great as that's been, and we've been able to go and do, like, we did a moose hunt together in British Columbia. He went to Africa with me last year, finally. That was his first trip over there. He got his New Zealand stag. That was a dream of his. But I've had a lot of older clients that are the same. They started trying to do this too late in life. And so now my dad's done. Like, he just physically can't do these things anymore. Yeah. So he barely kind of got in at least 2 or 3, which is great. But I have a lot of clients. I had a 75-year-old guy down in Argentina with me, and he's like, man, I wish I would have started doing this 30 years ago. Yeah. He's in his 70s now. Like, so to your point, guys, don't wait, man. You can't take this money with you when you die. Yeah. You can, your memories, like, go have a good time. Like, this stuff may not be around in, 10, 5 a year from now. So get it done while you can. I'm telling you.
For sure, man. Absolutely. So definitely, guys, I do recommend, reach out to Ryan. We're not done talking, but just
Yeah,
like,
no, I appreciate
where can
that.
people reach out to you if they want to like look into booking something?
Yeah, totally. So, Trophy Expeditions is the name of our booking agency. We're kind of a one-stop shop. My parents have run a travel agency for 44 years, and this is kind of a branch off of that. So we can do all airfare booking, travel insurance, hotels, cars. We can send your family to Disney World, whatever you want to do. Plus, we can book hunts, and so that's our family business. You can find me on Instagram and check out
Cool.
our website, trophyexpeditions.com. I need to update it,
Yeah.
but
Definitely
yeah,
reach out to
that's
Ryan.
that's
He knows his stuff, and
yeah,
he helped me out, so he'll help you out. What are some good like one thing I'm always thinking about, and I think other
yeah,
guys too, like the guys that are like, well, I know every September you will not find me anywhere else but with a bow in my hand in the elk woods,
sure.
and then I got my mule deer.
Yep,
So like, what are some like good, and maybe even like fairly affordable kind of off
sure.
season hunts the guys can do that like you maybe wouldn't think about, but are like in random times of the year where there's nothing else you're gonna miss out on?
Great question. I mean, that hunt I just got back from. I mean,
Mm,
if you love elk hunting, you're gonna love hunting red stag, whether that's in La Pampa in Argentina, which is more like really thick, kind of like rolling, almost flat. It's not like a ton of big terrain jumps or high elevation. Or you can get down into Patagonia and hunt them, but like you're hunting them in the rut. It's September and March in Argentina is what
mm,
it is. That's a
nice.
fantastic one. I do for those of you who aren't really into the high fence thing, totally get it. Argentina is better than New Zealand because they have much bigger blocks of land where you can find, like I said, I was on an 85,000 acre free range property hunting stag. It was great. Whereas in New Zealand, obviously it's a smaller island, less land mass. There are some free range opportunities there. They're incredibly difficult. So if that's your thing, awesome. But the really big ones you see, man, that's all high fence stuff.
Yeah.
And if that's your jam too, great. Like I've done all of it. So there's no judgment from me. Like I've had to go and experience all of it because it's my job. And so it's all a lot of fun, but that's a great one for March. If you're into other mountain species, I really, really have gotten into the ibex.
He froze. Uh-oh.
The Ronda and southeastern ibexes you can hunt in like March and April. Also, really cool hunt, awesome cultural experience, fantastic country. The whole stuff like in Azerbaijan, Mongolia, and that Azerbaijan hunt might be the most physically demanding hunt out there in the
Mm,
world. Talk to anybody that's been there. You're hunting Eastern Dagestan tur, which is kind of a mix, like even scientifically, as they try to determine it, is it a goat or is it a sheep? It's kind of an in-betweener,
yeah.
but they're big, burly, tough animals, and they live in some steep, steep, steep stuff. Like you better have put in the work before you get there because it is a tough hunt.
Yeah.
Um,
Did they end up closing down Kyrgyzstan like you were saying on the podcast I heard?
and so it's kind of been like on the fence. Like I'm hearing it's closing. I had friends from Canis Athlete, which is a new apparel company that I work with. The owner just got back from there a few months ago and it was fine. So like, I don't know.
Okay.
That kind of keeps changing, it seems.
I got you.
Kyrgyzstan is fantastic. Like of all the places I've been, that trip was freaking awesome. Crazy
Oh,
story.
nice.
That's a good one, but that's probably like you can do that one, but it's gonna overlap with our Western big game hunting. So like I like Azerbaijan because you can go and do that in July.
Nice.
I like Mongolia because you can go do that in July. You can hunt Gobi and Altai ibexes there. The Argali hunts there are incredibly expensive. I'm taking a couple of guys next year to do them, and they're at a lower terrain, so they're not as physically demanding. If you want a better physically demanding hunt to challenge yourself, go after the ibexes. They're at a higher altitude and rougher country. That's why I like hunting the ibexes. Turkey, also good, but it kind of is right after our archery season for
Yeah.
most Western states. But those are
Those
a handful to consider.
and those ibex hunts that are kind of in that borderland of like Eastern Europe slash starting to get into the Middle East type areas.
Yeah.
I know this is probably a really broad sweeping question, but ballpark, what are you looking at for doing one of those type of trips?
Yeah. So the most affordable one is the mid-Asian ibex in Kyrgyzstan. Door to door, I like to tell people, because I can tell the hunt price is going to be around, $6,000-7,000. Door to door, you can get it done for about 10 grand. That's all in your flights, having to stay at a hotel, maybe everything, right? License costs, exporting the animal back out, your rifle import, export, license, all that stuff.
Wow.
And
so that's pretty good. I mean,
it's not bad at all. There's people that are spending way more than that on elk hunts right now. So,
oh, dude, yeah. I mean, yeah, even just like a drop camp caribou hunt's gonna run you more than that.
Oh, for sure. And it's an experience unlike anything else. Like it is truly. I was on the border of China with 3 Kyrgyzstani dudes that didn't speak any English at like 14,000 feet, and we had just killed this thing. And I was laying in a 2-person tent with the. And I'm going, what the crap am I doing? This is freaking nuts. Like way off the grid, off the grid. It was so cool.
That is awesome. Cool, man. That's like Indiana Jones type experience.
It was freaking nuts. It was.
I remember, like, it's not related to hunting, so it's not quite as cool. But I remember after the earthquakes in Nepal in 2010, I was there documenting some humanitarian work that we were doing. And like we were in this high Himalayan village, and it's like me and one other American dude, and everyone else was Nepalese or Indian. And like they like brought us into this hut and like offered us this, insanely spicy food, which like I do not do spicy food, but it was like the village chicken, and they killed it for us.
Yes.
And so I'm like,
you can't defend them.
Oh yeah. And Bible says eat whatever they put in front of you. So I was sitting there eating it, and I was like dying. And luckily I was the camera guy, so I was able to be like, all right, I got to get some shots now. And like, but just that moment, I was like, this is like Temple of Doom, man. Like, this is amazing.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I think a lot of people, you get really focused on what species you're going to hunt. But like, I try and tell all my clients, and I've learned this is like, embrace that full journey. Like there's so much more to it than just pulling the trigger on this animal in a foreign place. It's like, the culture, the food, just the insanity of getting there and getting back. And like the before and after of that one moment that lasts for a few seconds is the best part of the trip. Like that's why you do it.
And there's something about, like, for me anyway, I've always loved other cultures and like connecting with people from other cultures. And like, you actually end up making these incredibly strong bonds with people when you're in these countries with them. Like, it's pretty cool. Have you experienced that? You froze on me for a second. Did you get my question?
I didn't. I missed it.
That's okay. I was saying, like, you wouldn't necessarily think so, but I've always found that like I form really strong bonds with people from other countries. Like, I don't know what it is. It's like you're both kind of really interested in each other because you're so different, but then you realize that like you're also really similar, and you get these cool connections. Like, I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it.
Dude, I think that might be the coolest part, because I got like freaking dead animals everywhere and pictures and memories, and that's great. But like, so I use WhatsApp. For those of you who don't know what WhatsApp is, it's like the best way to keep in touch with people internationally. It's an acronym. And so my WhatsApp, I'm on it every day. I probably talk to more people on WhatsApp all over the world because of these friendships that you form with these people. Like, even if there's a little bit of a language barrier, like I've got different like translation apps, so I can at least like type it in English and it translates it to the language, just so I can at least kind of communicate with these guys, because you form that bond. Like, you went through some, a tough hunt together, and you both have that same love and desire. And even though there's this language barrier, it doesn't matter. Like, you shared a really special moment with each other, and it's something that you're both passionate about. And it's really cool to see that literally all over the world. Yeah.
And something about just like connecting on that level. Like, I don't know, like, I'm sure you connect with like a random like elk guide in Montana or something too, but like connecting with some dude named Muhammad who like doesn't barely speak any English, and like, but you still like, you see each other, look each other in the eyes, and like, you just know what the other person's like feeling and like experiencing. It's pretty special.
It's really cool. It's really cool. That Kyrgyzstan hunt, I go back to that one because, like I said, I mean, these guys couldn't even say hello. English. I mean, like, I'm talking zero English. And it was all for like 5, 6 days. It was just like hand gestures and like pointing and like drawing in the dirt. But we knew what we were trying to accomplish, and like we were on the same page of the right tactics to get the job done.
That's awesome.
But it was just so cool how it came together.
Dude, that's super cool. I'd love to do that. Like, honestly, I feel more. I want to do a big international hunt like now more just from this conversation.
Yeah.
But
careful of predicting.
sheep hunt first. Sheep hunt first.
There you
go. So yeah, dude, that's super cool. I had some other stuff I want to talk to you about. So on that note, I know you've mentioned before you're a spiritual dude, and that's kind of a theme of the podcast. What kind of role do you think your faith plays in your desire for kind of adventure or just the lifestyle you live?
Oh, love that question. Dude, it's everything. I typically get emotional when I talk about this stuff, so apologies in advance. You'll have to bear with me. So when I was 17, I joined the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I lived in Ecuador for 2 years as a missionary, and
were your parents
gave my heart and soul to the gospel.
Were your parents in the same church, or did you join it yourself?
Nope, joined by myself. Had my wife at the time, my girlfriend then, and some other friends were all members, and that's how I came to know about the church. And for a lot of time, I was given grief. Oh, you only joined the church because you're dating this girl. And it's like, no, that wasn't it. These two missionaries taught me some things I hadn't learned about, and I took it to heart and took it in consideration. I was like, if this is true, this is pretty incredible. And so I went home by myself one night and prayed about it, and kind of had a very personal experience where I couldn't deny that I knew the things they had taught me were true, period. And in that moment, I knew I wanted to give other people that opportunity, and to be able to help people, whether they accepted what I was teaching or not, didn't matter. I wanted to help people. And so joined the church. A year later, I was called to serve a mission in Ecuador. I lived there from 2005 to 2007, learned Spanish and taught the gospel of Jesus Christ. And it was absolutely incredible. And in that time living there, I that's where I think I really came to understand more about myself as an individual. But I also really had this love for other people outside of what my comfort zone was. And, to put it quite frank, as a white guy in Northeast Texas. And so it opened my eyes. It increased the size of my box, and I got comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I wanted to experience more of that all over the world and understand people and see how they live and why they live that way. And doing that through hunting was pretty cool. And so that religious experience and what it's meant to me and how it's impacted how I think I've been blessed in what I've been able to do in my career. I've been blessed with an amazing family and 2 little girls. And that's everything to us. Like as important as hunting might be for me in my career, and as important as softball might be for my older daughter, and gymnastics for my younger daughter, and my wife and her horses and all that, like the most important thing over everything is our family as a core unit, and how the gospel helps us protect ourselves against a society that may not be as in line with our beliefs. And it helps us stay together and close, and it protects us and helps us find a greater joy in life. And so, the gospel of Jesus Christ is everything to us.
Absolutely. That's awesome. I couldn't agree more. I mean, having that foundation of faith is just, because ultimately, as cool as any adventure is, as cool as any human connection is, it's not everything. Like it just isn't. Like as much as I am obsessed with hunting and love hunting, right, I could be in an accident tomorrow and break my pelvis and be, whatever or whatever. But my refuge, my strength is in God. And my eternal salvation, and I hope I never have to quit hunting till I'm like about to die, but right. And I believe God is blessed us with the ability to do these things we love, because he wants us to do what we love, and he wants us to be happy and have joy and live life to the fullest. That's what Jesus said. He came to give us life, and life to the fullest. So I want to live that life, but at the same time, it's it's meaningless if you don't have a deeper purpose and a deeper connection.
Definitely. There's more important things than hunting. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
hunting is like probably fourth or fifth down the list for me, honestly. Like everything that relates back to the gospel of Christ is takes slots 1 through 3 or 4 there. So and my family is the utmost important. So
100%.
I mean, yeah, it's I don't know, like I've been able in seeing these other cultures and being in I mean, especially once you get out into the eastern part of the world, like where there's a stronger Muslim culture, it's very interesting to see how different religions of all types affect cultures and how and why people do things.
Mm.
Again, it makes me grateful for what I know to be true and how it's impacted our family in such a positive way.
Yeah.
And to have that knowledge that, you know, Christ is our savior and he atoned for us, and that through repentance, we can find greater joy and peace in our lives. And, you know, we're going to make mistakes. We're not going to be perfect. We can strive to be perfect, but we're going to make mistakes. That's okay. Heavenly Father understands that. And that's why he sent Christ here to atone for us. And if we participate, Amen. If we make that choice to participate through the repentance process, we can find peace. And that's why we're here. We're here to learn and experience the good and the bad. You can't experience the good without first going through that refiner's fire, experiencing some bad, even if it's by your own mistakes and doing that's an opportunity. And that's how we should look at it. Heavenly Father lets bad things happen for our own benefit, so we can use the gospel to navigate those hard times, and find that peace and understand and appreciate the good.
Yeah. Or even, you know, cause we do have an enemy. He's bad. So he likes to make bad things happen, but, and the way I believe is that on earth, God's will is not always done. Like it's not God's will for a little kid to be abused and die or something. That I don't think that's God's will. That's the enemy. So, but you know, there's different schools of thought there. Some people think that everything is God's will but anyway, without getting down a rabbit hole, all I'm trying to say is God can take bad things that happen to us. Maybe he didn't himself make them happen, as some people like to say. You know, maybe the enemy did something, or maybe we did something ourselves. We're reaping and sowing. But God can take those bad situations and turn them for good.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think what's interesting is that how everything's intertwined is so complex. Like, yes, bad things happen. Do I think that's God's will? I don't. I think that he doesn't, just the same as we're his children. I would never want my children to go through pain.
Right.
I understand that's how they learn sometimes. Like when my kids are younger, I'd say, hey, don't touch that pan. It's hot.
Right.
If they touched it, I always told them good choices, good consequences, bad choices, bad consequences.
Yeah.
Touch it. Ow, it burnt. That hurt.
Right.
They learn. It's the same with us. And unfortunately we have to experience some bad things, and, you know, how we deal with those bad things, even indirectly, if it doesn't happen to us directly, we still sometimes are affected by it. And that's still an opportunity to learn. And I think it's hard because a lot of times in my life, I've seen people really struggle with, well, why would God let that happen to me or my brother or my child or my parent or whomever, my friend? And it's like, that's a hard one, but it's part of his plan. And when you can come to peace with the fact that we're supposed to go through hard things, he let that happen for a reason. And there's something to be learned that's going to help bless your life. If you can figure out how to use the gospel to overcome that and understand it, it will allow you to increase your testimony of Christ and why Heavenly Father has you here and what you're supposed to be learning to prepare you to go further and enter his kingdom later on when it's time, you know? Yeah. So that's my belief, but I found a lot of peace in my life.
For sure.
Come to understand those things.
Yeah, man. Like one thing I always thought would be cool would be to, cause I love doing international missions work. Like a couple years ago into Africa, but it wasn't to hunt. We were just ministering. We were actually doing a healing and deliverance conference. And like, dude, I saw some crazy stuff go down. We were casting out demons and I saw some miraculous healings. I mean, we ministered healing to people that were healed of like malaria and stuff. Anyway, some people listening might be like, well, this guy's off his rocker, but I've seen it happen. This one, well, I guess I gotta tell a story. Yeah, this one girl, we got there to the conference and she was just manifesting, going off, like freaking out, trying to bite us, spitting, screaming. And we were like speaking to the spirit and giving it commands in English, and she would do what we said, but later when she got delivered, she didn't speak a word of English. Like, had no idea what we were saying. Anyway, that's a whole other story, but
I trust me, I saw some crazy stuff in my 2 years in Ecuador. And I think for a lot of people that maybe aren't religious, it's like, man, y'all are really, it's like, well, I mean, like,
evil's real, man.
Evil is real, and it manifests itself in different ways. And, as real as evil is, the good side from God is just as real and even more powerful. And
absolutely. So and the thing is, like, a lot of this stuff, well, this stuff does happen in America as well. But a lot of times you see it overseas, because in America, a lot of people don't believe that, like, for example, demons exist.
Yep.
But the thing is, that's actually worse, because if you look at, like, anything, the first step of fixing any problem is admitting there's a problem. If you don't believe in demonic influence, you got the devil right where he wants to be, because you don't even believe he's there and he can just have free reign. You don't even believe he's real. Right. So anyway, that's a little side note, but I always thought it'd be cool to be able to, like, mix, because I got into this full time. So I'm like, man, I'm gonna be traveling a lot for hunting and creating content. Like, I still don't want to, like, lose my passion for international ministry work and stuff like that. But I always thought it'd be super cool to, like, be able to, like, book a hunt and then, like, hunt for a week, and then the next week after just, like, do ministry or just, like, minister or something, combine the two.
Absolutely. I think that is so much more meaningful. Yeah. Cause I mean, like, you're getting to do something you want to do, but sometimes for our own spiritual well-being, something you need to do is give service to others. Yeah. And that helps them, and it helps you probably, if not more so. And I think, you made me kind of pause and think maybe I wish I would have been doing more of that over all these travels. It's not always feasible, but, and I've had some opportunities that just kind of came along the way on some of these trips too, where we were able to do things unexpectedly, but we were prepared and willing. Yeah.
And you can be a light in the darkness, even on a hunt too, definitely. Like with your guides and whatever. And I try to do that even within the hunting industry here in America as much as I can. And, I'm just kind of getting started, but I hope that will be part of, that when people think of me or see me or whatever, that they know that, like, I'm not going to be banging them over the head with the Bible and preaching and trying to make them feel bad or something like that, but that I'm not going to water down my beliefs. I'm going to stand by them, and I'm going to try to be light and love in the industry whenever I can.
I think that's a good goal, man. That's all you can do. At the end of the day, we have left to stand on is our integrity and trying to do right by others. And I think if that's your goal, like, people are still going to end up hating you.
Oh, for sure.
Shrug it off and not worry about it. But stay true to who you are and what you believe in. And I don't know, at least for me, Heavenly Father's never led me astray. I've always ended up where I need to be. So
for sure, man. Let's see. How are you doing on time?
I'm good.
Okay. I did want to kind of shift gears a little bit, ask you one more thing, kind of like more like branding related.
Sure.
And maybe slightly selfishly motivated, but I don't know. I feel like you're a smart guy when it comes to branding and marketing. What are kind of some of the pitfalls that young brands fall into, or maybe some really good advice for guys who want to start building a brand or are building a small brand like myself?
Great question. Great question. I like this one. So I would say there's a few things that come to mind immediately. I think before anybody gets too deep into trying to create a new company, whether that be service or product based, you really should do what most people refer to as like a business model canvas. And you don't have to do it like truly, and it's like, scholastic sense and like build out this complex thing, but going through those motions and understanding, okay, well, identifying the problem, like what is the problem? And then is there a solution that we can solve for it? And I think, a lot of times some companies are born out of passion. It's like, oh, well, I'm passionate about this thing and I want to make this product or provide this service. And it's like, okay, well, that's great. But if you truly want it to be impactful and hopefully successful, that's why you're doing it and going to invest the time and money. You got to identify some problems that you're going to try to solve for. And so every successful company I've been with has gone through some version of that process. The technical term for it and how it should be done on a professional level is called a business model canvas. And you go through the entire, equation of identifying this is the problem. These are other competitors within the competitive landscape. These are some solutions I think we can identify, on and on and on. There's a lot more variables to that. And at the end of it, you go, okay, this is how and why we are going to start this company. And then you establish a vision statement, a mission statement that really kind of keeps you grounded and functions as your North Star. And so like, if you can do those simple things, and I hope I'm answering your question. And if I'm not, ask me another question and redirect me if you need to. But like those simple things, like understanding this is the problem, this is the solution, this is why I'm doing this, this is my North Star to accomplish this. Having those guardrails and guidelines help keep you focused on the objective at hand. But you've got to be nimble enough to, as opportunities come and as things change, to adjust, to pivot and redirect if you need to still get to that North Star, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's good. And
those are some things come to mind.
Yeah. And I think, also you're a thoughtful guy who spends a lot of time thinking about kind of the industry, the hunting industry, or even like community, if you want to put it that way. Like, what are some, some bright spots and some dark spots in the industry you see?
Totally. I want to end on a good note, so I'll go dark spots. But I think fortunately and unfortunately, the way, this industry has changed so much in the last 5 years, much less the last 2 years. There's a lot of toxicity, I think, in the community and culture of the hunting industry, specifically here in the US. There's brand versus brand, like cliques and people dragging down others.
Because it's a very relational industry and it's a small community. You got to be very careful, like what you do and who you cross and that kind of stuff.
100%. There's rumors that are 100% unfounded. I've heard things about myself that I was like, wow, well, that's just not true. I mean, that's crazy. And I hear things about friends of mine in the industry, and I'm just like, I know for a fact that's not true. And it's kind of like high school all over. And so that's kind of a dark spot in the industry because it is such a small community. Like once you're a full-time employee in this space, there's some high school tendencies, if you will, that kind of cast a dark spot on it. And, unfortunately, I think social media exacerbates that and makes it worse than what it should be. But it is what it is. I think there's more bright spots than anything. I think one more dark spot, because, and this isn't on the social side, this is more on just like, if you're entering a business right now, especially in the product space, some of the real challenges, supply chain and factories right now are tough. I consider that a dark spot right now. I mean, even for some well-established brands, just the ripple effect of COVID and this war stuff even happening now between Russia and the Ukraine, like it does ripple and touch everything worldwide eventually. And so you start to see, resource constraints. You're not able to source materials that you need for certain products. And then even if once you do they have the right staffing available at the factory to then produce? So like, instead of it being a lead time of like 60 days, like some stuff's like, we're being told with some of the businesses I work with, not just Peaks, but there's some pretty significant delays out there. And so that makes it a business, especially a new business, because you're immediately a small fish in a small pond and a small fish in a big pond, no matter where you get.
Yeah, I ordered a rifle at the expo. I'm praying I get it by August to have it ready for elk season.
Dude, it's crazy. So that is I don't know if you know what to call it, a dark spot. It's a challenge, if you will. Bright spots in the industry. There's way more, like I think technology is a double-edged sword. It's a blessing and a curse. I think right now the people putting out truly meaningful educational content that is well intended and helps others want to participate in hunting and get better at hunting and continue to foster that love for what we do. Those are all great things. And I think that's more easily accessible than it ever has been, obviously. And so that's a bright spot. I think that the companies out there that have really been able to push themselves in innovation, like as a consumer, that's fantastic. Like we're seeing all these apparel companies like just duke it out, and it's awesome. The fabric ingredients that are getting introduced into our space that maybe were only found in the mountaineering world are now available to us, at somewhat of a cost-effective opportunity.
Yeah.
And that benefits our experience in the outdoors doing something we love, and across the board for every product category. And so it's a great time to be a hunter. Like the amount of quality products we have at our disposal now versus 20 years ago is infinitely better. So
yeah,
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the level of like quality of the gear I'm using now compared to like, hunting in high school, although I did have some pretty good Columbia gear, which I'm sad Columbia stopped making good hunting stuff, but they made some pretty decent stuff, man.
I did. I think everybody had at least a little bit of Columbia.
Yeah.
If it was 20, 30 years ago. So.
Yeah, man, they had some good stuff, but yeah, I mean, I've noticed that I think with any small kind of world like that, and, especially when you got a lot of A-type personalities and limited, space in the industry, there's definitely some like little drama and he said, she said stuff and whatever and whatever. But I just try to give everybody the benefit of the doubt and, don't believe everything you hear necessarily, and
definitely not
communicate, with people. Right. And,
exactly. I mean, it's a sad human thing that happens that, people get jealous. People to make themselves feel better say and do stupid things, and it's unfortunate. And you're right. I mean, there's a lot of ego in the industry. There's a lot of A-type personalities, and some unfortunate things said and done because of that. But like, I think what bugs me the most about that stuff when it happens is for somebody, and I've talked to Michael Waddell, and I used to hunt together when I was at Sitka. We hunted at the same place in Kansas every year. So it was interesting getting his perspective for somebody that's been in the industry since he was 19 at a very high level, right? He's a blue-collared redneck deer hunter, and it's awesome. Everybody knows who Michael Waddell is, and he's been through it all. And so, but he says that, his perspective is that the worst thing about social media has been how many people that get started interested in hunting, but they're truly new. They're just trying to learn. And they come in and they see how we as a community interact with each other, and it's incredibly off-putting. Why would anybody want to spend that much money on an activity that takes them away from home, several days and costs a lot just to get, made fun of or, had negative things said about them? It's kind of a gross, that's what I said. That's one of the dark spots of the industry. We got to overcome that. Like, for sure, there's a time to be maybe to come down on people in the right way. If it's a detriment to hunting and how it's viewed from a wider public view. But like this internal bickering stuff, man, we're losing hunter participation, and we're shooting ourselves in the foot. It sucks. Yeah.
Yeah. But the other side of that coin that I was just saying too, is I've also been really impressed by, guys like you and guys like, Lampers and, Brian Barney and like Adam Weatherby, who've, given me an hour of their time, and like, who am I? It's like, so people have been really cool and really open about coming on the podcast, and it's been really cool kind of slowly building a network, even though I'm all the way out here on the East Coast, and then going to the expo and meeting folks, and I've been enjoying it.
Good, man. Well, it's been awesome getting to chat with you, and I hope a lot more guys come on and talk with you more, and I'm looking forward to see who else you bring on. Maybe I can learn something from them. It'd be great.
Yeah, man. Well, thanks again for your time. It's been a really cool conversation. I really enjoyed it, and hope we can catch up sometime again in person.
Let's do it. Maybe we'll go on an ibex hunt together. Dude. We'll do like a post hunt conversation about it.
Yeah, and then
we'll get some of your other stuff done first, and then we'll work on that one.
Yeah, dude, for sure, man. That'd be awesome.
Awesome.
All right, we'll talk soon.
All right, buddy. Thank you.